In 2015, I created this picture which depicted Sargon of Akkad as a right-wing propagandist. Since then, Sargon has supported Trump and the Republicans in the US and has openly backed Theresa May's Tories in Britain. In short, I have been vindicated. Anyone who claims that Sargon of Akkad is left-wing at this point is a complete moron. You will also notice that Sargon likes to call himself a friend of the working class, while slamming socialism. Just watch his attack on Badmouth Productions and his response to Owen Jones.
Communists, socialists, whatever stripe of radical leftist you think you are, you're stupid, you're out of touch, you will never represent the working man, they will never vote for you, they will never support you, they will be in active opposition to you. Get out of this socialist bullshit that never works wherever it's tried, and actually think, maybe we need to change what we think.
What a load of half-baked drivel. Tell me, Sargon, what has your moronic right-wing nonsense ever done for the working class? I note that the Attlee government, the most socialist government Britain has ever had, introduced the NHS, legal aid, sick leave, and promoted the mass construction of public housing as well as strong trade union rights. Meanwhile, Sargon's classical liberal garbage in the 80s led to record bankruptcies, a massive increase in poverty, decline of the trade unions, and the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, all during an oil boom, which was subsequently wasted on tax cuts for the wealthy. Sargon's side of politics has always been the enemy of the working class, always has and always will be. Case in point, this week his hero Trump released his healthcare plan, which made healthcare unaffordable to millions of Americans, whilst giving a massive tax cut to the insurance companies. That is what Sargon's classical liberalism is about, making the lives of the working class and the poor harder, whilst giving massive tax breaks to the already wealthy. That is why he supports Trump and May. Another thing that I find interesting is how he presents his political opponents as lunatics. Watch this and see who has the more rational reaction.
The loss of 32,000 officers and staff, and some forces struggling to provide even basic police services. An official NHS watchdog warned that the health service was standing, quote, on a burning platform, with 4 out of 5 hospitals needing to improve basic patient safety. And the Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies predicted that planned cuts to welfare would drive 1 million children into poverty by 2020. So I don't know why you're all so surprised that Labour is between 14 and 16 points ahead in the polls. I mean, with that sort of record, why would you not expect the Tories to be trailing badly? Simples. Sorry, what's that? Oh, it's the Tories that are 16 points ahead in the polls. I just don't believe that. It's just the sort of fake news that gives journalism a bad name. Next thing you'll be telling me the Tories won the Copeland by-election.
And you shut the NHS for that? Are you real? Is the country real? How do you keep voting for the Tories? What's wrong with you?
I agree with that. If you vote to wreck your own public services on your universal healthcare system, then you are simply an idiot. Sargon, however, thinks this is quite rational.
And the actions and the things you say are just repugnant. You don't understand the problems of the people that you're claiming you represent. You don't understand why they are voting for the toffs. You don't understand why they are voting for the upper class, who are actually representing their interests. It's amazing, isn't it? But you'll get hung up on the NHS and on banks and blah, 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 and all of these are remote problems.
From those two statements, it is clear who is the rational one. One is slamming the Conservative government for wrecking the healthcare service, whilst the delusional one claims that the state of the country's healthcare system is simply a remote issue not worth talking about. Sargon also tends to blame immigrants for everything rather than holding the Conservative government responsible for their own failures. Who does he blame for the fall in wages? Immigrants. Who does he blame for the unemployment rate? Immigrants. Who does he blame for the destruction of the health service? Immigrants. If I was an incompetent Conservative minister, I would send Sargon my thanks. I could just blame all my failures on immigrants, who in truth really only provide a benefit to the economy. Immigration creates demand, which in turn creates more jobs and a growing economy. Furthermore, the only time when immigrants depress real wages is when employers are allowed to pay them far less than what they would pay a native worker. The fault lies with the employer in that case. That is why Corbyn wants to punish employers who engage in undercutting wages and conditions. It's ironic how the right, who cheered the destruction of trade unions and workers' rights in the 80s and 90s, now complain about employers being able to undercut wages and conditions. If Britain still had a strong trade union movement, this would not be happening. But I guess you reap what you sow.
They lost because they had no compelling, coherent vision whatsoever.
This is where people who support the Justice Democrats should pay attention, because Jeremy Corbyn is what it looks like when a socialist ideologue gains control of a party against the corporate sellouts. The party dies either way. You need to realign your perspective away from big business interests and away from radical hardline ideologues and back to the concerns of regular, working class, normal folk. That's what you need to do. And if you don't, you are doomed to failure, I fucking promise you.
No political movement Sargon has supported has ever helped the working class, nor will they ever, since Sargon always sides with the big business and conservative establishment.
Decent, honourable, principled, and in many ways courageous man. He took stands in the 1980s, over and over again, that placed him on the right side of history.
God, I cringe when I hear that word. Because right now, Jeremy Corbyn is very clearly on the wrong side of history.
How so? He comes from the tradition that gave Britain the NHS and promoted workers' rights. Your side, meanwhile, always seems to make the lives of the working class harder. In short, Sargon, your side of politics has always been the enemy of the working class, and always will be. Some of you would be wondering why I keep coming back to Sargon. Well, it's for the same reason I made that video about Manuel de Pinochet supporting Marxists and Nero of Rome, the left-wing atheist who supports the Republican Party. I hate fakes. If Sargon said he was a right-wing conservative in the beginning, then I would have just said, well, at least he is being honest. But he isn't being honest, is he? He frequently claims that he is left-wing despite the mountains of evidence against him. He is nothing but a right-wing propagandist masquerading as a leftist.